Hi everyone, Spider-Man 1991 here, and in honor of X-Men First Class coming out this week, I decided to talk about my X-Men graphic novel collection. Alright, the first X-Men graphic novel I ever bought was Uncanny XMen Masterworks Volume 1, which features the first 5 issues of the original X-Men series. This book originally came out in 1993, but if you want to know about the original 5 X-Men, see some of the first issues there. There's another edition that came out last year. It's better than I have to say, though, it is better than this. I don't have it because I figured I have the first 5, so no point picking that up. But if you haven't read any of them, I definitely recommend picking it up back when Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were starting the book out. It's good. Also, the original 5 X-Men, they didn't last too long. I mean, their title ran for about 70 issues. Then Marvel decided to just stop printing new stories and just to reprint old ones until they figured out what to do with the X-Men. However, in about 2008, they decided to print X-Men First Class just to kind of bring the X-Men back to just sort of show a period of innocence for the X-Men, back when it was just the original 5 students, when they were teenagers, learning how to use their powers under the leadership of Charles Xavier. But like I said before, they were trying to reboot the team. And around the 70s they did, with Giant Size X-Men #1, by getting rid of the old X-Men, bringing in the new ones. With pretty much a team with members from all over the world: Storm from Africa, Colossus Russia, Nightcrawler Germany, and Wolverine Canada. And this I got from Barnes & Noble, I think 3 years ago. Yeah, that's about right, 3 years ago. And it's also the first few issues written by one of the most well-known X-Men writers, Chris Claremont. He began his long-term writing with this book, and I also have Volume 2, which features the first appearance of Jean Grey as the Phoenix. Both are really nice, and if you want to read about what made the X-Men so popular, this is when it all started, when Chris Claremont started to take over and pretty much brought the X-Men to a position of awesomeness. Speaking of Chris Claremont, I happen to have another one of his well-known arcs, which is the Dark Phoenix Saga. In this story, the Phoenix Force makes Jean Grey insane, turns her evil, and she destroys the star system. Then the Shi'ar, aliens that the X-Men have known about, take Jean Grey, put her on trial, then to pretty much kill her so that the Phoenix never come back. But unfortunately, the Phoenix does reemerge, and Jean kills herself in order to make sure that the Phoenix can harm no one else. But a few years later, they bring Jean Grey back in for another X book they were working on called X Factor. I do have the first issue of that, but unfortunately, it's in my box of really nice comics I don't want to ruin. It's bagged and stuff, but I don't really want to bring it out. Also, back to the Dark Phoenix Saga, you don't call yourself an X-Men fan until you read this, okay? I mean, every X-Men fan has heard the story, but I think if you are a fan of X-Men, you should definitely go find a copy of this. It's pretty good. And my next books are the first 4 volumes of Astonishing XMen, all written by Josh Whedon, which I also mentioned back in my Christmas haul video last year. Both feature each one can be read individually, but when you read them all together, you start to see them as sort of building up to the big finale on an alien planet called Breakworld. After doing and I also looked into it, and apparently Whedon's run was supposed to be a sequel to Grant Morrison's run on X-Men, which was known as New X-Men. But Whedon did an amazing job. He brought Kitty Pryde back. Apparently, he brought Kitty Pryde back onto the X-Men books, and he also brought Colossus back to life. And each book does feature its own story. There's a cure for mutant kind introduced in Volume 1. Volume 2 features the Danger Room starting to gain intelligent life and going to kill Charles Xavier. And Volume 3 features Professor Xavier's evil unborn twin, Cassandra Nova, taking control of Emma and using her mind to create a sort of mental illusion of the Hellfire Club to help free herself from a prison Xavier kept her in. And the last volume features the final issues of Whedon's run on Breakworld, where, spoiler alert, Kitty Pryde sacrifices her life to phase a giant bullet that was headed towards. Well, she gives. Okay, how can I explain it? There's a giant bullet headed towards Earth. Kitty decides to stay in the bullet so it remains in a ghost state, so it just slides through planets from now on, and no world has to be destroyed by it. And that's pretty much Whedon's run. If you are a fan of Josh Whedon, then pick these up. If not, but I'd still recommend these. If you've read Grant Morrison's New X-Men, then get these, because it does feel. Well, I haven't read Grant Morrison's New X-Men, but people have said it. But Josh Whedon described it as a sequel to it, so. Well, I'd say give it a try if you want. Alright. Remember how I mentioned Marvel deciding to reboot the team with an all-new X-Men? Well, Ed Brubaker wrote X-Men Deadly Genesis, where he looks at the time in between what happened when the reason they had the story reason behind the new team was that the original 5 X-Men were kidnapped by a mutant island called Krakoa. Cyclops broke free and went to tell Professor Xavier about it, and Xavier decided to form a new team of X-Men to get the original X-Men out of there. But before Xavier got his team of all new X-Men, there was another team sent to Krakoa, and there were 4 young mutants, all under the tutelage of Moira McTaggart. Yeah, that's right. And one of the members and 2 members are significant because one of them is featured in X-Men First Class, Darwin, and the other one, this guy right here, Vulcan, is Cyclops and Havoc's brother. But when the original team arrived on Krakoa, they died. They did not stand a chance. They did allow Cyclops some time to escape, and he made it back to tell Xavier, but Xavier wiped Cyclops' mind and manipulated it just to think that he broke free on his own and came back. But the story isn't entirely set in a flashback. Vulcan has returned to Earth to seek revenge on Xavier and the X-Men, because this takes place after the House of M, when Wanda Maximoff said no more mutants, and she released a bunch of energy into space, and that hit Krakoa, and apparently Vulcan was in some sort of a coma, and that reawakened Vulcan. He returned to Earth to seek revenge. I'd pick it up if you want. If you love Ed Brubaker, get it if you want. Otherwise, you can skip it. It's just a mini-series. You don't have to read it. Alright, now for more recent X-Men stories. First of all, here's one called Nation X. During Dark Reign, the X-Men rediscovered Magneto's old base, Asteroid M, and they resurfaced it. They brought it close by, and they all decided to live there as their own nation called Utopia, so that they wouldn't have to listen to Norman Osborn. And Nation X deals with the return of Magneto. Magneto has come to Utopia so that he can live there and just live in peace and sort of join the X-Men. And this book is sort of about how Magneto earns their trust. He helps Namor build a pillar underneath the asteroid so that it doesn't sink again. the island was slowly sinking, and Magneto helped build a pillar so that it wouldn't sink. And in the end, he also finds and in the end, though, okay, I can't find a good picture, but Magneto finds the magic bullet containing Kitty Pryde, and he brings that back to Earth, breaks it open, and frees Kitty, but unfortunately she's stuck in a permanent ghost state. And so she can't touch anyone, but she can't communicate telepathically. And now, here's my most recent X-Men graphic novel, X-Men Second Coming. After House of M and M Day, when Wanda said no more mutants, there was about only 200 mutants left on Earth. No more were, and have been no mutant births since, except for this little girl whose name is Hope. And there was another story before this. I don't have it. Unfortunately, I don't have it collected. But in order to keep Hope safe, Cyclops gave her to Cable and sent her into the future. And this book, Second Coming, deals with Hope's return to Earth, and the X-Men now have to get Hope safely back to Utopia. Unfortunately, there are some casualties along the way. And by casualties, I mean mainly Nightcrawler and Cable. This book pretty much collects almost every X-Men title. This was a good story. It stretched almost in every single X-Men title out. X-Men, New Mutants, X-Force. It was pretty good seeing Cyclops pretty much take charge now that he's the new leader of mutant kind and stuff. Alright, that's for all my mainstream X-Men graphic novels. Time to get into some spin-offs. Here's sort of a mini-series over the decades that I really loved. It's written by the regular writer on Avengers Academy, Christos Gage. It's called XMen and Spiderman. It's just 4 issues, and it pretty much just looks at the relationship of everyone's favorite wall crawler with everyone's favorite team of mutants over the years, such as the early years and the Black Costume era. There's even the period where Wolverine didn't have his adamantium, he had bone claws, and Spider-Man and Ben Reilly was the regular Spider-Man. And during the entire series, though, the villain is Mr. Sinister, and it's not really something you have to read, but if you're an X-Men fan and a Spider-Man fan, then you should definitely read it. And if you liked Christos Gage on Avengers Academy, then I'd pick this up. It's very good. I liked it. And another spin-off series that was created by Chris Claremont was The New Mutants. Claremont created this just to kind of bring, I'm not sure why, but I think it was just to bring the X-Men back to their roots of just teenage mutants learning about their powers under the guide of Charles Xavier. So Charles pretty much in their initial debut, though, Charles was under the control of an alien creature known as the Brood, and he was gathering the mutants just so that the Brood Queen that was possessing Charles could take them over and use their bodies to help take over the world. But the X-Men got wind of the plan. They saved Charles, and the professor decided he was going to keep the kids as a team so that he could train them to use their powers. And again, the series had 2 more volumes and one more which was when it was recently revived. And I did not know of the New Mutants I didn't get these until a few months ago, and I read them. I thought they were great, though they're an interesting lot of characters. I wouldn't say you have to get these for if you're an X-Men fan, then yeah, it's just a nice spin-off just to give you a little break from the usual characters in X-Men, just to give you something different, that's all. Okay, and one more, which is Ultimate X-Men, the Ultimate Collection Volume 1, written by Mark Millar. And like every single Ultimate title, these are a reimagining of the X-Men in a more 21st century setting, with a lineup that's familiar, but characters that are drastically different. Even And here's something interesting. In the first issue, it's shown that Wolverine was working with Magneto and he was going to assassinate Xavier. But Logan decided to learn of Charles's goals and he fell in love with Jean Grey and he just decided to join the team. But Jean dumped him when she found out he worked for Magneto. Sorry to spoil that for you, but I like this first Ultimate Collection volume. I want to get the rest, but I can't for financial reasons. But it's a nice reimagining of the X-Men, though. I can see why the series sort of took off in its beginning, although why it failed, I'm not entirely sure. Ultimatum. But yeah. Okay, and those are all my X-Men graphic novels. None of those are pretty much essential to read seeing X-Men First Class, but yeah, that's all I have to say. I'll have my review of X-Men First Class sometime this week. This is Spider-Man 1991 saying, see you later.